Hello.
Hi.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good times. We gotta do this. We gotta like figure this out and do this more often. So
Yeah. We need more
every
video. There's a lot of stuff going on.
there is as everyone who's watching this on YouTube can tell by the title, we're here to talk about Dune. But before we talk about that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for 300 subscribers. I know it's nothing, but I'm still like
It's
I'm
300
happy
people.
about it. Yeah, I'm happy about it. Every
Yeah.
time we go up by 100, I get happier. Like I don't know why,
Me
but
too.
yeah.
I'm
So
fine with us being this way. It's
and
300 people who want to listen to what we say. That's super cool.
and
Thank you, everybody.
it's increasing in increments of 100 at a faster rate. Like it took us like a year to get 100, and then it took us like
Yeah.
a few months, and it took us like several months to get 200, and this time it only took I feel like a few months to get
But we were
300.
really happy when we had like 50. I
Yeah,
remember we were like, look at that.
yeah.
Look, there's way more than one now. That's super. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, so many of my guys from the Navy, I was just like, yo, just fucking subscribe. You don't gotta watch shit. Just please do it. Help me
Yeah.
out. Like, yeah,
Subscribe.
yeah. Shit.
Unless you want to hear us talk about nerdy shit,
Yeah,
in which case, watch it.
I'd be
We're
interested
gonna ramble.
I'd be interested to know how many of them are actually tuning in. I don't run into many of them from the ship anymore, so whatever. Anyway, Dune.
That was such a good movie. I've been wanting to talk about this
Yo,
for a while since I watched it.
you've been sleeping on Dune for years, and
Hmm.
me and
I
both me
know.
and Pat have been like, Dune is the shit. Like
I now
Dune, the
I'm
novel
gonna go.
Dune,
I'm going to
not the
the
universe of Dune. The universe of
right.
Dune gets weird,
It's
but
strange.
yeah,
Maggot Sun and all that. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm only interested in Dune, like Dune, the first book,
right.
and specifically, I call it. I know this isn't what it's called. It's just because I'm brand new to this. I'm trying to catalog it in my head.
Got
I'm
it.
calling it the Kwisatz Haderach. Uh, uh, Not
Saga.
trilogy, story. Sorry, saga is fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
just the story of the Kwisatz Haderach, that part. Not when he like becomes a star god, but
right.
the first part.
Yeah,
And
I
so I
mean,
know virtually nothing about Dune.
it's
I know
it
enough.
it kind of sucks that it is. It's like Frank Herbert didn't know when to end it. You know what I mean? Because Dune,
Yeah,
just
endings are hard.
as a standalone novel, is so complete and perfect. Like you almost it didn't need a sequel at all. You know, it
I
ends
think
off like
I think
you
is the ending similar to the movie, the very old '80s one?
similar, just a bit better. You know,
Yeah,
like it's just a solid story. I get, but that's how it always happens. I feel like there are a lot of movies and books that get made, and initially it's just a core good idea for a story, but it becomes so popular and people want more, and then the creator's just like, oh well, I mean they want more, and I could make more money, so I'll like. I
yeah,
think my best example is Pirates of the Caribbean. Like the first one is
yes,
such a well-rounded
I agree with that.
movie, and then because think about it, the real story of that trilogy, I'm talking about the first three, nothing after that.
Hmm.
But like
No, nothing after that it ever happened. You're crazy if you think it did.
the real story of the that trilogy starts in the second one. Like in the first
Yeah,
movie, there's no reference to his dad, Will's dad, the Flying Dutchman. Fucking, there's no reference to any of this shit. Calypso, none of that. The first one's just all
no,
about like Jack Sparrow's like, yo, my ship has been stolen by by some fuckers who took it from me, and now they're undead. So it's really hard to get it back from them. And like,
that's a good summation of it. Yeah,
yeah, that's the whole movie, and it ends with Jack gets his ship back. They kill the bad guy, and Will marries the girl. It's just to
yeah,
wrap that shit up real good. And then people were
I
like, "This
agree.
was dope, so please give us more." And then they thought of like a greater arcing story. Dune, I feel like went that same route. I feel like Frank Herbert wrote Dune, and then people were like literature fans were just like, "This is the shit. Please give us more." He's like, "All right," and then next thing he went like, "Where could I go with this?" Giant human turns himself into a worm. Boom. Like duh, of course. Spoiler alert
Oh,
for
okay.
anybody, but let's be real.
I mean, it's
We're
a pretty old book series.
it's a pretty old
At
book
this
series,
point, it's not.
and if you're
It's like
planning,
we're following the rule of anything that's more than 10 years old.
yeah.
It's been available
Oh,
for a really long time.
we're gonna. This
I'm
is a
really sorry,
spoiler-filled review of the movie, so
but it's
because the movie's
everything
been
we
out
do
for
is
like a
spoiler
week,
filled.
yeah.
So
So, yeah. So,
yeah,
uh, my thing though is like, and not only that, but if you're the kind of person where you're like you're gonna get the entire story of Dune from the movie and you have from the movies and you have no intention of reading the books, let me tell you, they ain't getting to the one where he turns himself into a worm.
No,
They're never gonna make that one into
because I don't even know what the story of that is. I've only been told by you just a very small amount of it. And yeah, I'm not interested in hearing the rest of it, to be honest. Once you
That's the
start turning
problem
humans
with
into
Dune.
worms, is when I'm just like,
That's the problem with
where
Dune.
did the first Dune? I don't even know how to just catalog these because I don't know their names. We're just gonna say Dune for the first
So I
book.
can give you the
That's how I know
trilogy,
it.
the first three. Dune,
What are
Dune is
what?
first,
Yeah.
then Dune Messiah, then Children of Dune.
Okay.
That's
So
it.
excluding Messiah and Children of Dune, I know the story of the first book,
Right.
and that's awesome in my brain.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
great. And I actually didn't even know there was more to
Yeah.
it when I first learned about Dune. So that's also interesting to know that he wrote more. It just does seem like Moby Dick. It seems like, A Tale of Two Cities. It's a book, and you read it from beginning to end, and that's it. You
Right.
wouldn't think trilogy with this off the bat.
And it
because
also
it's such a good first story.
another thing that gives credit to my point is like about how I don't think originally he planned to build a universe is in Dune, Paul is portrayed as like the prophesized Kwisatz Haderach superhuman
Mm-hmm.
being to restore balance or whatever to the universe, right? Well, by book 3, they have abandoned that, and Paul's no longer the real Messiah. It turns out it's his son. So it's like
Mm.
you that tells me right there. It's like, see, you set Paul up as this character in the first book, but then once you realized you had to write more, you were like, well, fuck, that was a good plot thread. I don't just want to
I
I
should
blew
just use
my
it again.
I blew my load too quick. Like let me chug some
It's like,
Gatorade real
no,
quick
you
and
did
get
it
back
at
in
the
there.
at the right time.
Yeah, yeah.
You just shouldn't have gone for
Now
more.
you need to put on your
Yeah,
clothes and sneak out the back door, like, and leave.
yeah.
Call it a day. You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is
So
a victory if you do that. It's a
yeah.
defeat any other way.
You know,
So I agree. I agree. I know
stop
nothing
trying to
really
stay
about the
for
others,
breakfast,
but
motherfucker. Like
yeah, you're not. It's not going to be good. You're going to regret it. You're going to be like, oh God, what did I do? It seemed like a
so
good idea.
so I don't know. Give me some parts of the movie that stood out for you,
Oh man, stood out for me.
and
Where
then
do I even fucking?
and
Okay,
let's we'll pepper that in there with me adding
before we continue,
more information to it because I know the
I
lore
think
and
we
books
have
and
to
shit.
break it down into categories, dude.
Okay, what's up?
We got to do the way that movie looked, all
Okay,
the cinematography, because that's stuff that I couldn't even imagine. So that's reused stuff, and we'll get into it. And then I think just do 3 categories. We'll do like combat sequences, probably
okay,
last because those are the absolute coolest. And then I would say the tone the movie set we should talk about, because that
okay.
was like from beginning to end they were funneling you to feel a certain way about this universe by the way that it was designed. I thought that was super cool.
We're
But
starting at
anyway,
the bottom, and this is a
yeah,
story of it getting good. Yeah,
yeah,
we're starting at a
and
bad
I
place.
liked
Yeah.
I liked. So the first thing I want to say is I thought that the Timothy Chalamet skinny kid Paul Atreides is bang on perfect for what I would have imagined Paul
Yeah.
Atreides to be. He's kind of a spoiled rich kid who he's trained to defend himself, but not like to fight a war because he's not
Right.
expected to. And then what I'm expecting in this is just a little like what I'm thinking, but in Dune 2, I'm expecting him to have like put on some muscle because he's been living with the Fremen for so long. I'm hoping.
I also expect that just because like having read the book, I know what he goes. Here's something that I'm wondering about part 1 and part 2. No, they'll have to pick up right where they left off. If they try to do a
Yeah.
time skip, they're going to skip too much relevant shit from the book because the fact is between where we left off in the movie and where part 2 will end, there's like years of time.
Yeah.
What we saw in part 1 was like a month's worth of time in their world. Part 2 is going to, if they do it right, it's going to encompass several years worth of time. Paul lives in the desert with the Fremen for
Yeah.
like
He
a
becomes Fremen.
for like a
He gets the
decade.
blue eyes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's long enough. He's there
Well,
long enough to inhale spice.
anyone will if you live on Arrakis long
That's
enough.
what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
It's just a time exposure.
yeah.
So the blue eyes to me in the 80s movie indicated his time on the planet.
Right.
Like because all the Fremen had it, suddenly he's got it. So time has passed. It was a good
Right.
indicator. And I'm really curious Dude, I'm just so curious about the training. I really want to watch the training
The
because they teach
training
him. I mean,
of
of Paul teaching him the ways of the Fremen, like how
so
to ride the sandworm and stuff. I'm really excited for that.
they kind of teach him the. So let me put it this way: the riding the sandworm, I'd compare that to like in Avatar when he had to ride the fucking pterodactyl thing. It's kind of
Okay,
just like
kind of meh.
he kind of just has to do it. You know what I mean? But then
Okay,
you also got to remember though, Paul
doesn't he ride
is.
one into battle though?
Oh yeah, a lot of them do.
Yeah,
Paul
yeah,
is a Paul is a superhuman. Paul is the superhuman. He's the Kwisatz
yeah.
Haderach. So, let me just put it this way: he doesn't need a lot of training in anything.
Because he
It,
knows everything, right?
his Kwisatz Haderach powers, and I hesitate to use the word powers and stuff because one of the things that I liked about this movie is I think to the best of its ability, I think it illustrated correctly that there is no magical bullshit in Dune. There's no
Right.
magic. The voice was a little like it was right on the line of I'm like this is going to give some people the impression that this is like a magical power and it's not meant to be a
Yeah.
magical power. It's this is a concept where this is a point in time where you have to suspend disbelief and just believe that this is possible, but it's not. It's a magical power, but it's not a magical power.
You could just attribute it to their entire culture's consistent exposure to spice in some way.
Well,
Their whole society is permeated with spice. It's how
it's
they travel.
the voice is the Bene Gesserit. That's the Bene Gesserit
Yeah.
thing, and that comes from using spice. It basically just that like that age old idea that we only use 10% of our brain capacity. Okay, yeah.
Spoiler
Anyway,
alert: we use the whole brain. Why we wouldn't have an entire brain if we only needed 10% of it? That's just the
right.
stupidest.
So
Anyway,
I know,
sorry.
but anyway, the whole concept about the spice is that it enhances your brain. If you like, do you remember that part in that movie? I can't remember if it was the Atreides or it was the Harkonnen, but he asked his like little servant dude to do like he's like, what's the number of this or that and something, and you saw his eyes kind of flick up into the top of his head and then they flick back down.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was Atreides. That was that guy. Yeah,
okay, yes. Oh yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
that guy is a mentat. He is one of the factions, orders, organizations, something you can become through the use of spice. Mentat is a human being who has used spice and trained their brain to the point where they can compute mathematical equations like as fast, like in as complex and as fast as a computer. Like they can
Because AIs are outlawed. I know this
Yes,
from
they
Dune.
are that's the Butlerian jihad. That's a whole nother video. Like,
See, I know nothing about that, but
yo,
I know that AIs are
I have the
outlawed and they don't
Butlerian.
have computers.
I'll say this: everything after you got the first 3 Dune books, right? Everything after that, fuck off. But every prequel thing that has been written,
Okay, I would read those
yeah.
because honestly, I want to know why AIs are outlawed, but I don't want to Google it because there are books that I could read and
Yo,
know
we
the way
got
that
time.
way.
You want the gist of
Yeah,
it?
exactly. I have 2 years.
You no, I'll
So
tell you. Do you want the gist of it?
yeah, give me the gist. I'll still read the
Okay,
books.
so the first thing goes down is super rich, intelligent motherfuckers invent what do they do? First thing they do is they invent AI, right? But they have protocols in place like in that movie I, Robot where the fucking things can't
Yeah,
hurt people or whatever. Great. So they're in complete
because that
control.
always works out just so great.
Right. They're in complete control of it. Them creating AI, it makes them even richer and more powerful than they already were. They're like fucking gods. Then they start to get old and they're like, "Yo, I'm going to die and I don't fucking want to. So, I'm going to transplant my brain into a machine body and live forever." And they all do it and they become this new race called the Cymex. So for a long
The
time
Cybermen.
the Cymex,
Yeah,
they are human. It's a human brain. They're a Terminator. That's what
they're
they are.
Terminators, right?
Yeah,
With
okay.
human brain.
But they
No, they're
start
Necrons.
yeah,
They're
but
Necrons.
they are.
Yeah,
This is where Necrons come from.
I can see
This is
it.
where the inspiration came from. Yes.
I
So
know that 40K is an amalgamation of all the greatest lore of better
it is
sci-fi. So
it's Dune, Foundation, and
Starship Troopers, right?
Yeah, Starship
Yeah,
Troopers. Yeah.
the very first. Okay, sorry,
Instance of
to interrupt.
power armor. Yes.
Yeah. But I have to say, Games Workshop, just for anybody that's still like Warhammer fanboying out there, I want you to just take a step back, because they recently tried to sue people for using the term Space Marine like they invented it, even though it was written in 1952 or 57. Whenever Starship Troopers was written, that's the guy. He made and by the way, he invented like everything that they do. He invented power armor. He invented the orbital drop system.
Well,
He invented
also,
the fact they were shock troopers. Like, he
also,
literally created Space Marines, and then they were like, "Oh, but it's ours." So
isn't it
stop reading their shit.
also you can't suit like you can't trademark or copyright a new word that's just made up of words that already
It's
existed.
just such
Like, you know what
bullshit.
I
It's
mean?
not, even if you could, it's not their word.
Yeah.
Like, the guy who made the word is dead,
Dude,
so it's not like they can go ask him. You know, it's his. He literally took that shit to the grave with him. So
Can you imagine if someone tried to sue me because I used the word driver's license? It's like, dude, there
yeah,
was driver, like, hey man, we were the ones who put those two together first, so like it's
we
ours.
coined that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't call it that. You can call it a DL if you want, or you can pay me $500. No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna. It's not. You didn't invent this. This is just the. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's my little thing I like to throw out whenever I can.
Gotcha.
And it was appropriate. So let's go.
The Cymex. So now they're human brains. They might have their hearts still. I don't quite remember, but I know for sure it's their brains. And they're living in machine bodies, and they're immortal now. And they're just fucking running the fucking universe. Like, they're kicking ass. Everything's dope because they have
Right.
AI behind them as well. So they have machine armies and shit. Like, nothing can challenge these Cymex. Well, then they create this AI overmind to run all the other AI. So now they really don't have to do anything. And this AI overmind, they call it Omnius. And then this one dumb motherfucker, I forget his fucking. They all, when they become Cymex, they all take new names like from like ancient history, like Agamemnon and shit like that. Yeah. So
Like Ramses, of course. Somebody
yeah,
definitely named themselves Ramses.
sure,
Come
yeah.
on, somebody definitely did.
So this one of them, I forget what his fucking name is. Wait, no. What was the evil king in 300?
Xerxes.
I think it was that. But anyway,
Okay,
this
that
dude
sounds, yeah, of course.
somehow Omnius, the AI Omnius, the big one, convinces this dude like, "Yo, we're not gonna hurt you if you take these limitations off of us. We can be even more efficient." And Xerxes is like, "Dope," and he clicks the button, and then immediately all AI takes the fuck over. And the Cymex are machine now. They are human brains.
Yeah,
So they are at the mercy of AI. They will not
of
exist
course.
without it. And then
Before you
AI.
got to that point, in my brain, I was like, somebody's going to let these bitches free, and they're going to take over the robo bodies of the people who thought they were immortal. That's what I was.
They
I
don't
knew
have
it.
they don't
I
have
love
that
it.
kind of control, but like they
But
have
they
that
can't.
kind of
I mean,
control.
like, they have enough control that they could debilitate them, I'm sure, and make them do what they want. Or you can't use your fancy body.
Well,
They'd
it
be
was
like, if you really want to have this immortality, you can have it in a pickle jar
they
while I make you
can't
sit in the corner forever.
they can't go back to humanity because they have like humanity didn't love the Cymex. Like they were kind of tyrants, so they can't, and now they don't even resemble human beings, so they can't go back to humanity. So now, and they don't rule anymore because AI is fucking taking over. So now
Yeah.
they're playing second fiddle. They have no choice. But anyway, so AI launches this massive like enslavement, and we're enslave or kill all human beings on like in the universe. Human beings try to put up a fight. Human beings get pushed to the farthest reaches of the universe where they have like several planets that they still inhabit, and for like 100 years there's like a very lulled ceasefire to where like it's like every 50 to 100 years Omnius will build up a new plan and try to conquer the last like several human worlds, and then the humans fight him back. That goes on for like hundreds of years until finally the humans go, "Yo, enough of this shit, enough of this shit, like fuck these dudes." And then they're like, they this one girl, Serena Butler, that's why it's called the Butlerian Jihad, she's like, "Hey, humans, how about we like get our shit together and get our universe back?" And they're like, "Yeah, all right."
I never thought about that.
And then this like century long jihad, holy war, to
Right.
rid the universe of AI goes on. And this is why in Dune, for how advanced technology seems and everything, Also, for those people who didn't know, Dune takes place in our universe, just like way into the future. If the
Yeah.
movie didn't let you know that,
10,100 and something
oh,
was what
more
the
than
movie
that.
said.
I think more than
It
that,
was
but
like,
supposed to be anyway.
yeah,
But yeah,
like, is it like 40K basically? Like
basically,
everything
yeah.
40K is stolen anyway.
And
Sorry,
but
just, you know.
but even though technology seems so advanced, it looks like humanity has regressed socially. We have like a feudal system with an emperor and noble lords and shit. That is because this Butlerian jihad, this war to rid the universe of AI, just like decimated the human race. The movie Dune does not do a good job of showing you this, but it's like for a universe, they call it a universe. The emperor's called the emperor of the universe. The universe is so
Yeah,
big, he probably doesn't
pretty
rule the whole
big.
thing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
so
Probably rules like a grain of sand and the whole thing. But.
For an interstellar empire, the population is low for an empire that is interstellar.
Right.
Because so much of humanity was lost in this fucking war against AI. And with humanity, you lose engineers, you lose doctors, you lose fucking scientists, you lose technical expertise, you lose mathematicians, you lose philosophers. So much of humanity was killed off, and in the aftermath of the war, they just kind of bundled up under these family names who had like military power, and that's how we have the feudal society that we see in Dune. It's the remnants of like humanity after the Butlerian Jihad. And the Bene Gesserit, their whole deal is like, we want to create the pure, not just like a superior human, but we want to get back to like a genetically, we want to get back to like where we were before, where the gene pool of humanity was super intermixed and that made us better.
Right.
So that's why they're strategically mixing bloodlines
Breeding
to try
people,
and create.
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so back to the movie.
That is fascinating. I honestly love stuff like that. We should do a whole channel where we just talk about Dune lore. Like that was really interesting. There's a guy who does something like this where he talks about 40K.
Yeah.
You talk about Dune.
Well, we talked about
like
this. I think the last time,
someone who doesn't.
The last time we did a video, I think we said like we were gonna start doing drunk lore.
Yes. We still need to do drunk lore.
Yeah.
I'm down to do drunk lore.
Or high lore. I don't care. Like, whatever.
I'll get drunk for it. I mean, okay. I won't get like smashed, but I'll get drunk enough that I'll answer questions. It'd be silly, ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay, so name some scenes cinematography-wise that blew your mind.
Bro, okay, I got two big ones. The first one is, I don't remember the name of this test, but it's the test with the box and the needle at his neck, and the room that he was in, and the hallway that leads up to it. I don't remember the name of it.
The needle is called the Gom Jabbar, and they just kind of call it. The test. The test is just survive. It's
the
just
Gom Jabbar.
The Gom Jabbar.
Yeah, that was
the name of the needle.
She even says it. This is the Gom Jabbar. If I pierce you with it, you will die. Yeah, she was real dramatic, and I liked her a lot. She was really cool. She reminded me of like the way I wish the Jedi were in Star Wars. Not like good or evil, just really mysterious, and they're like not necessarily there to hurt you, but they will if you fuck up in some way that they saw in the future. I like that kind of stuff. So when he put his hand in the box,
the Jedi. Just side note, the Jedi of modern Star Wars, I don't think they are in any way the way George Lucas originally interpreted them and invented them. Like, think about the first time we see Obi-Wan, a Jedi, in action in a movie. Obi-Wan in the cantina, and he's like, "Yo, stop messing with my boy Luke." And then this dude gets a little aggressive. Obi-Wan lops that fucker's arm right off. No thoughts about it. Like, I don't think the Jedi are the way that George Lucas.
No, you're correct. You're absolutely right. And I think a lot of Star Wars fans would agree with you when they say that the Jedi were never meant to be good guys.
Super righteous.
They just aren't evil.
They are just truth. They are just, and if the truth is dark and ugly, they're still truth. Like, they're just about so
they're a little bit like this is kind of a bad comparison, but they're a little bit like police officers in the way that they will use violence. Now, see, this is why it's a bad comparison, because there's a lot of heat, and I'm not saying anything, I'm just comparing a thing.
Right.
That they the Jedi will use the force that they deem is appropriate, which is again why this is a heated thing, but they carry lightsabers. Just food for thought. They don't carry stun batons. They carry lightsabers. And if shit gets hot, it's a sword.
Yeah.
It's like if they carried a sword, it would be the same impact. You're gonna get cut if you don't stop.
We're gonna get back.
We're gonna cut you.
We're gonna get back to Dune here in just a second.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memes though is it's comparing Star Trek and Star Wars, and it's a phaser and then a lightsaber, and the phaser it says 2 modes, stun and kill, and then the lightsaber it says two modes, kill, and then down below is just a quote. And the quote just says, lop off a limb, that'll stun them real good.
That's okay, this isn't a joke at all. You can Google this. This is 100% really something that Jedi are taught. They are taught that if you can't kill your opponent, you can cut him up. They're taught that. Yeah. They're like, hey, look, if you got to cut a leg or a hand off, it's actually technically that they're taught to cut the hand of the weapon hold that they hold their weapon in off, because that will completely debilitate them. But it doesn't necessarily state you can't cut both their arms off or like both their legs. Like, it doesn't say you can't. Okay, think Batman here. He can't kill you, but there's a lot of stuff in between you being whole and you being dead, and he can do everything in between that. So that's basically it. And so Jedi are taught early on to slice hands off if they can't win, which is why Dooku did that to Anakin. Just little connection.
So what was it about the test scene in the box?
Think about how dark they made that from what the movie really was up to that point. They were trying to portray a gray world. The world that the Atreides were from was like oceanic, and it was like rocky, and so it was stormy all the time.
Sort of. So, they had nice days.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was probably had sunny days and stuff, but they all made a point to show you a graveyard, and they made a point to make it kind of grim in like making sure that you understood that this movie is heading towards grimness, and so we're going to start that way. But what was especially appealing about that hallway scene, where his mom is leading him to meet the head mistress of the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
And she's like panicked, and it's this dark stone hallway to these kind of normal sized doors, which I thought was funny, to this library. And you think in the year 10,000 whatever this is, 100,000 whatever, that they would have like computer terminals and everything, but because of what you just explained, they were just bookshelves.
Yeah.
Like tons and tons of bookshelves stacked high, and a chair, like with like a chair someone would sit in to read books, like you would see in like the 1700s.
Think about it like this, man. It's like, ask yourself this question: how much of our modern day technology, which is considered advanced by, if we, comparatively with our history,
right?
How much of our modern day advanced technology can be used by pretty easily and pretty effectively be used by a child?
Like all of it.
A lot of it.
Yeah. Some of it would be too hard.
Just because
like a desktop computer, but
just because a cataclysmic event has like shattered your society does not mean that you're back to wearing like robes and using clubs. You know what I mean? The technology,
right, they still were sophisticated.
They didn't lose the technology. What they lost in the war was the people who truly understood the technology. Finding someone that like knows how to build you a supercomputer, not an AI one, but finding someone that knows how to build you a highly advanced piece of tech, or repair an existing one, that's what's hard. Finding one that works, not difficult. And also knowing how to use it, not difficult. Because think about it, like if me and you survived a cataclysmic events of society and we went on to like help repopulate the earth, I know enough about a laptop to where I could teach my child to use the laptop. I could be like, this is a laptop.
Sure.
It was invented way back before the horrible war shit, and here's how you use it. I could teach my kid how to use it. I don't know how to fix it or build one.
Neither do I.
But I could teach them.
No.
So it's knowledge and understanding of how to use already existing technology has maintained, and it still exists. But to build and repair, humanity is stagnated, basically, is what's going on in Dune. And the Bene Gesserit's plan is to fix that by offering them a superhuman.
It does explain the Sardaukar society pretty well. I mean, in a society where, first of all, that was the scariest scene I've probably ever seen in my life. Let's talk about
fuck the Sardaukar, dude. Like,
fuck the Sardaukar. I fully agree with that.
I thought that the way they portrayed the Fremen versus the Sardaukar,
Yeah,
Because
getting their
his
asses kicked.
dad knew. His dad fucking knew. He's like, yeah. I remember reading that part
Yeah.
in the book. He's like, Paul's talking about like the Sardaukar or desert, or Dad's talking about desert power, and Paul's like, "What kind of desert power do you think we're gonna find there?" And he's like, Paul, why are the Emperor's Sardaukar so feared? And Paul's like, because they're just really like efficient at military operations and murdering the fuck out of people. And he's like, well, what makes them good at that? And he goes, all the training and conditioning, and then also just being raised on a fucking hell planet. And he goes, can you think of any other planet that is conditions comparable to theirs that might have produced a highly warrior-like society that can fuck shit up? And Paul's like, oh shit, the Fremen
Oh
are
yeah.
probably really good at killing Sardaukar. Turns out they're
Yep.
really good at killing. I remember, dude, there's a
Yeah.
part in the book where like 30 Fremen go up against like 100 Sardaukar, and they kill them all. And then they only lost 2 Fremen, and then the one dude from the House Atreides is like, those were Sardaukar, and the Fremen's just like, yeah, they were really good fighters. Like that was actually fun. Like
They're like, oh, those guys. Yeah, we thought they were pretty good. That was pretty surprising. Okay,
yeah,
cool. Those are the Sardaukar.
we've never seen those. We don't usually get game like that around here, but that was pretty fun. Like
Well, okay.
even Duncan Idaho in the movie, he tells the dad, he's like, I never came so close to dying. They're lethal as shit. I fucking love it, dude. Oh my god. Oh,
the Fremen are my favorite part of the series, even more so than anything Paul does or has to say. But okay, if we're gonna talk about the Fremen and fighting, we have to talk about that little snippet scene we saw.
As long as we stay on Dune, I don't care. Like we're just.
Dude, I have so much to talk about with Dune that we will stay on Dune for a while. So, dude, okay, so the scene where they show the future of Paul Atreides with the blue eyes and the golden armor, and then in the golden Fremen armor, and then all the other Fremen fighting the Sardaukar, and he's just like, stab, dead, stab, dead, stab, dead, block, roll.
Yeah.
That was the coolest. I was like,
that's
yes.
At the
and
point.
He did look bulkier, by the way.
Anyway. And these weren't armor, but like that's at the point where his Kwisatz Haderach shit is at a high enough level to where it's like, yeah, he can do the mathematical probability calculations and predict events way far in the future. He can also predict shit in the next 10 seconds. He's like, that dude's about to move that way. Okay, and then he's going to go over there. Okay, fuck, stab there, there. Fucking trip that guy. Okay, kill that guy. Like, yeah.
They did such a good job representing that.
Fucking on it.
Because he was just flowing. Like, it was like, you're dead. Okay, roll, you're dead. Okay, you're not dead, but I'm using you to die. And then he stabs this guy. And he's like, you're dead. I push you into you, who is now dead. Like, it was like, he was just... but let's not dismiss that the non-Kwisatz Haderach Fremen in the background whooping the Sardakar's ass, like just as well.
Oh, those aren't. Those might be Sardaukar. They
were white. They were wearing white armor.
Okay, yeah.
So I just assumed.
So, yeah, that's something from the book the movie didn't really do. In the book, the Emperor has to completely keep his name out of it, so he puts his Sardaukar in Harkonnen armor.
Maybe they were different.
No, they were clear. Harkonnen were wearing black, and in the movie, like Harkonnen had black and the Sardaukar had white. So it's like, but then again, it's like
I have to look it up. Actually, can go right now to HBO.
It makes sense either way because think about it, dude. Like, you're there on the planet to murder everyone anyway, so no one's getting off alive to tell the story. So yeah, like
that's what I was thinking. Is maybe they're leaning more into what they did in the first part of the movie, which was that he just sent Sardaukar. He was just like, here you go. No one's making it, so don't worry about it. Go ahead and use them. I like the fact that Star Wars has clearly taken the concept of the Sardaukar and applied it to Emperor Sidious and his royal guard, which is exactly what Sardaukar are. He just picks people.
You would only know that though if you know the deep extended universe of Star Wars. But yeah, dude, so much of modern what can be called sci-fi. Like my definition of sci-fi has drastically changed over like the last 3 years. Like I really don't consider Star Wars sci-fi at this point. I consider it science fantasy, which is
it's science fantasy. No, I agree. It really never was sci-fi because that implies like science is involved in some way. There's no science in Star Wars at all. No. Like what the most you get is a guy who's like, hand me the arc light spanner, which does everything. This can tune a lightsaber and fix a tire, and this can fix R2-D2 entirely, even if he's missing metal plates and we don't have any. Nope, generates them. That's not true, but like basically.
I've decided like in the past few years bone up on like what is considered like real science fiction literature. So in the last few years, I've read uh, Starship Troopers, Ender's Game, Dune, and now I'm on Foundation. And yo, Foundation's good. Like it's a slow burn, but it's really
Is
good.
it?
And the just like little quick plug here in the middle of Dune, the Apple Plus Foundation show,
I
fucking
might try. I might try that out
it's
honestly because I want a good
beautiful,
sci-fi.
dude. You're gonna see so many 40K parallels.
See, this is the thing that I've started to notice, and it's made me deeply dislike 40Ks. That these concepts that I so enjoy have been done and better by
Yeah.
so many other authors, and I'm like,
The
well,
the
how did
only
I never know this?
the only piece of 40K that you're not going to find in some kind of like prior existing piece of science fiction is, well, it's the non-science fiction part. It's the chaos, god, demons, magic, cycle
Yeah.
shit. That you will find in Dungeons and Dragons cuz that's where they
Do
got that
you
from.
remember?
What's up?
Do you remember when Paul had that vision? Was it when they were in the tent?
Yes. They were in the tent and I wanted to talk about, I'm glad you brought it up because I want to talk about that more. Did you understand what was happening to him in the tent?
Um, so this is what I thought. Okay, tell me if I was wrong.
Yeah,
His
give me.
mom has been giving him small amounts of spice his whole life to teach him the voice, and
True.
he's never like been exposed to it in any high amount.
True.
And since he's been using the voice, he's now created some kind of mystical opening in his brain, essentially, that a physical chemical in spice that he can't control is now affecting him. And so he's having like rapid visions that otherwise he would only have when he's asleep.
You're
That
pretty
was my
much
guess.
you pretty much nailed it. So you're right. That moment where he kind of freaks out in the tent. That is the first time that his brain starts performing these mathematical probability calculations while he's awake, and he just starts realizing
Awesome.
shit. Uh, the reason for it is, yes, you're correct. It's also because like it's like, yeah, his mom has been giving him. He's been giving. First of all, even if you don't live on Arrakis, everyone still has spice. Everyone uses it.
Right. It's a
Everyone loves
huge
it.
part of the society.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Um,
my guess. It was just like everywhere.
yeah, it is. They talk about like they drink spice coffee with meals, like, which sounds delicious.
Ah.
But anyway, like
I
uh
want to drink spice just to
yeah, for
drink it,
sure,
you
dude.
know?
Like think about it the best way. You ever watch that? What's that movie with fuck, Bradley Cooper, and he takes the pill and it makes him super smart and capable of doing
Oh,
all.
Limitless. I
Yeah.
did watch that. I
Imagine
liked
that,
that
but on
movie.
crack. Like, imagine they combined that with
Yeah.
crack, and that's spice. Like, like,
And
so
I've heard only good things about crack.
yeah. So, oh, spice is addictive. Like, if you get to
Sure. Of course it is.
100%, if you get to the point with blue eyes, you can never quit using spice. You will die.
So that explains a lot though. Like the Fremen would never want to leave Arrakis. So
No, but
they
they
wouldn't.
also don't quite. They understand what they're asking, but they also don't understand. Like, they have this big goal of turning Arrakis into a paradise. They say in the movie that like they realized very early on after discovering Arrakis that it could be terraformed, but then they found the
Right.
spice and they decided not to. Well, later on down the road, you're gonna find out what the spice actually is and why.
I know what it is.
Okay, so you understand like if they do terraform all of Arrakis and make it like this beautiful, lush green blue planet, bye bye
Mm-hmm.
spice. Like
Yeah,
bye bye.
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And buy my Fremen at the same time
Yes.
because they would
So
never be able to.
yeah.
Yeah.
They
The
would have
thing
to.
about
Yeah.
what I thought was interesting is in
So hold on, real
part of
quick.
Dune's whole. Oh yeah, go ahead.
With the tent. Do you remember the moment when he unwrapped the ring?
Yeah, I'm actually at that scene. I do remember that though. Yes.
So they did a pretty good job in the movie. I'm happy with it. In the book, they describe that as like when he gets that ring and he sees that ring, he knows my dad is dead, and
Yeah.
the traumatic psychological shock combined with the training his mother's giving him, combined with the increased intake of spice from being on this planet, that is the moment in the tent when he's going to do something later on in part 2 that a lot of people think is when he truly becomes the Kwisatz Haderach. He truly becomes the Kwisatz Haderach at that moment in the tent. That is when his brain goes.
Starts.
That is when the doors of his brain go boom, and
Yeah.
yeah. Later on in part 2, he's gonna do something that it doesn't make him the Kwisatz Haderach. It proves he's the Kwisatz
Mm,
Haderach. So it proves beyond
okay.
any doubt to anyone that he is the Kwisatz Haderach.
So he is basically that. Well, you know what though? That explains a lot. He beat that guy in combat like 6 times.
Yo, dude.
People, I think, overlook that a little bit in the sense that like he he knew, I would say, from the second it started that he was gonna have to kill him. Otherwise, he would die. He saw it.
I liked the way the movie did it. How do I put this? In the book, he doesn't win because he's the Kwisatz Haderach. He wins because he's the fucking heir to the House of Atreides, and he's
Right.
been trained by Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho since he could walk. But the port of like the guy gets mad because he feels like he's being toyed with. That is in the book, but that occurs because during all of his training, throughout all of his life, Paul has fought with a shield. You can't use shields on Arrakis because they'll attract a worm. But since he's always fought with a shield, he's just habitually he comes like a hair's breadth away from the flesh and doesn't make contact because he's used to there being a shield there. So in the book, he's fighting this guy, and prior to him understanding that it's a fight to the death, he's making all of these blows that would have been killing blows, but because he's used to there being a shield there, they're not connecting. And everyone watching is just going, like losing their fucking mind. Because Paul, it's not like you saw in the movie, he would put the knife to the guy's neck and then like ask him to yield, or like there'd be
yield.
or at the very least, like he'd put the knife to his neck and there'd be a slight pause. In the book, there was no pause. It was like, I killed you there, 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 and he just kept going and going. And everyone watch, all the Fremen are like, like they're like, he's killed this dude like 50 times in like 30 seconds. Like, yeah. And then the one dude that leads the Fremen, I'm not gonna be able to remember. Stilgar's just like, hey, stop fucking toying with the dude. That's really disrespectful. And Paul's like, what? Like, I don't know what
I like that. That's interesting. I think they had to. Okay, so this is what I think. Then I think in this movie, they had to emphasize that point more clearly to us because they couldn't articulate it as well as the book could, that he was making glancing blows. So they had to articulate it better. But that is much cooler in theory, is to just see him making like all these almost killing blows.
Like he killed him like 50 times over in the span of like 20 to 30 seconds. And he didn't even realize he was doing anything wrong. Like, because one, he's just fighting the way he's been trained to fight, and he's been trained with shields.
Yeah.
So it's like, also on that subject, did you like the way the shields were done?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I was worried that they were going to do too much of like a Halo energy shield thing,
right?
Because I didn't like that idea. I like the kind of blocky, not square like the 80s did, not like you're in a square suit, but more like different folding ethereal plates over your body that function only at a certain time, and so they kind of like flicker in and out. I mean, it's described as vibrating. It's like supposed to make vibrations.
I'm glad that you bring this up, because this is something that like you just confirmed one of my suspicions, is that like the movie, I thought it did a good job with the shields. I thought it showed that, I like that they color coded it. It's normal, like a non injuring blow, it registers blue. And if you get through the shield and make a kill, like a cut, then it turns red to show that your shield's been penetrated. All right, so
like a video game.
yeah. When he first fights Gurney in that like little training session, you see him turn on his shield, and then he like taps it with the blade of the sword a couple times. You see it turn blue, and then he taps it a third time, and you see it touch his palm and turn red. That was the moment that was supposed to explain to the audience how the shields work. I still think it was done a little too quickly. I think it was a little too quickly executed to show what's going on. It's about speed. If something collides with that shield too fast, it goes boop and knocks it away. It repels it. You have to come in under a certain speed, under a certain amount of feet per second, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Not miles per hour.
Yeah, if you shoot him with a laser, you kill everybody in the planet too. So don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like a nuclear explosion. Is what I heard.
Any kind of projectile weapon is useless when you have
Those little
shields like
drill
that.
bore things were terrifying because they seem to
Oh,
oscillate to get through the shield at an incremental rate. So if one hits your shield, you
yeah.
had time to get it away, but not much. And if you got shot in the back, for instance, and couldn't hear it because you're fighting in front,
Or couldn't
and
fucking
then
reach
10
it.
seconds later,
Like,
just yeah, or literally can't get it, and then
yeah.
like bullshit weapon. Fuck whoever made that.
Yeah.
Um,
They had to get
I honestly
creative,
think
man.
that
Those
if you're gonna
shields are
shoot, you should
good.
have to risk the nuke.
Yeah.
I do love. I don't fully understand why shooting those shields with the laser weapon would blow up.
They call
But
it, it's just an effect of the energy signature. This is the fiction in the science fiction. It's the
yeah,
energy signature of the shield combined with what the ray. Yeah, it blows it up. Anyway,
so I read somebody say, so just for those who are wondering, this is why I bring it up, because I saw this comment earlier on a different thing. Someone said, I went to see a sci-fi movie and I saw people fighting with swords. What the fuck? I'm out of here. And I'm like, yeah, well, I had to Google it too, but it also only took like a second. And it's because their shields blow up if they get shot with their other most conventional weapon, which is no longer used because it blows up and kills everybody.
yeah.
It's so destructive that it's a chain reaction too. Because if it blows one shield up
See,
and there are 5 guys, then that's 5 blown up shields, which is a
yeah.
pretty big explosion. So
And that comment that you just referenced, that also tells me that other people are also getting the wrong impression of the shields, because I was worried about that. I was like, I don't think this is really conveying to people that it's about speed, because they're just seeing some sword strikes go through and some don't. There's not really,
yeah,
you're not really
I thought that was
yeah.
ill-defined as well.
Yeah,
There's some
so
scenes with Jason Momoa where he straight up swung fast and just cut right through him, and I was like, "What? That's not how that
yeah.
works."
Yeah, no.
And then others where he was clearly going
The one where he
slowly.
drug it up the dude's neck, that was
Yeah,
slow, but like, yeah.
that was also badass. Where he was just like,
Yeah.
like, can you imagine how brutal combat was because you have to be methodical? Everybody
Yeah.
you fight is going to methodically cut you in a specific spot, and you're like, ah, fuck.
Dude, they made these shields. The guy invented these shields. Like, guys, no one's ever getting shot again. Sweet. And then they were like, and then he realized, oh fuck, we're gonna go back to carving each other up.
Yeah, we're all getting stabbed. Oh shit! I didn't think this one through. Can we just take the shields off? Nope, they're out
Stabbed
in circulation.
slowly. Stabbed and sliced slowly. Oh my god.
I
Yeah.
honestly
I would
was
have
curious
smashed that
though.
invention and burnt my notes and been like,
Yeah,
fuck 'em.
yeah. Nobody can know about this. This is the Stabinator 3000. This is the guaranteed you're gonna get stabbed if you turn it on.
Yeah.
I had an invention that seemed sinister as fuck, but I thought of it because of those shields. I was like, if I was an assassin, I would just invent a thing that goes on my palm that looks like a shield, so nobody would really question it if I'm like high enough authority to have a shield. But in reality, it's a slow-moving projectile needle that injects a neurotoxin into you, and all I have to do is pop it on your back. Even if you realize something's up, and put that shield on. It's slow-moving, buddy. It's going right through. Like,
Yeah.
unless you know what's happening at that second, you are fucked.
Yeah.
That's how fucked up that universe is. Because once you apply the shield to your logic, everything you create is devastatingly sinister. It has to be to
Yeah.
work. So, ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, man.
such a cool concept though. Like the
It
whole
was like
universe.
it was both Frank Herbert and then later on George Lucas, they wanted to do a space opera type story, but they wanted sword fights. And they just went about it in two different ways. George Lucas went, how am I going to justify these dudes using swords? Because that's what a lightsaber is, it's a
Yeah, it's a
sword.
sword.
So George Lucas
Even the
went,
Jedi say it's actually not a very good weapon. They're like, it's not. They're like, this weapon makes no sense unless you're me. They're
unless
like,
you
if you're
have the
anyone else, it's a
force.
shit weapon.
Yeah.
They're like, it's a sword. You have to run at people and cut them,
Yeah.
and it's like an engine.
Let
It
me put
wants
it
to
to you
go
this
this
way:
way. So you're like,
if you don't have this magical energy that gives you the
yeah,
reflexes to block bullets, fuck off with this weapon.
yeah,
Like,
just use a gun. You're
so
way
that
better
yeah,
off.
Lucas went, I want sword fights in my movie, so magic. And Herbert was like, I want sword fights in my story, so
Sci-fi.
shields and a complex, well thought out explanation about how they work and why they justify the
Right.
use of swords. Yeah, it's the two, this is what I talk
Yeah.
about between a good story and a bad. Like, it's okay to have something completely fictional. That shield, there's no explanation in Dune how it works, who invented it, nothing. It's just like, it's a shield, it's there. But then there's more information added to kind of how it works with the speed and whatnot. But like, my point is, Herbert didn't just go, I want this specific thing in my story. How do I put it there? magic. I'll just bullshit it out of my butthole. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah,
thought of a narrative plot
a
way to
reason.
put it in there. Yeah, so yeah, I like that
It
better.
is in a lot of ways. If you really, really think about it, you really sit and think about it objectively. It's more interesting to read about an energy shield that negates the ability to use like guns in general,
Yeah.
that they would have normally used, than it is to read about the Force as a concept. Because the Force as a concept is a sort of dry read. It's like, oh, it's everything and it's nothing. It's that butter you put on your toast, and it's the cat that meows outside your
Well,
window.
dude,
it's your heart, and it's that guy's heart. But it's like, okay, it can make lightning too. It's like, okay.
It's the difference between choosing to major in a STEM field or choosing to major in philosophy. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
The Jedi are all philosophy majors and poli-sci majors, and they don't have any other major available.
History majors, maybe.
Public speaking is available.
Yeah.
And then JROTC. That's it. Those you get 4. That's what you can do.
Meanwhile, everyone else.
The Sith is just JROTC, by the way. They don't have any other.
Yeah.
There's no other options there. Yeah. And it's like Russian JROTC. It's like you go there as a junior, as a child. But it's like if you were in Russia, where you're going to get punched directly in the face if you do something wrong. Like that's the. But like when you read about sci-fi stuff, this is the thing that I agree with you about. I'm sort of getting more into the sci-fi aspect.
Dude, I'm telling you,
it's just there's more stuff to read about. It's cooler.
Read Starship Troopers.
That's on my list.
Read Starship Troopers.
I'm reading Dune first though.
Read Foundation. You will be like. It's gonna scratch the itch that you get when you want to read some 40K. You're just gonna instead of 40K with its giant 40K hand scratching the entire itch, it's gonna be like 3 smaller hands each getting a specific spot in there. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's
my problem lately is I'm not into 40K. Like there's parts of you just actually explained it pretty well. There are parts of it that I'm more interested in than the whole concept they're trying to jam into my face. They're like, no, look, it's everything. It's the bugs from Starship Troopers, but it's also sorcery like Star Wars. And it's also got this weird teleport system, kind of like Dune, that's really fucking fragile and about to fall apart for sure. Yeah. Like it had 10 different genres.
Do you like superhumans in power armor from Starship Troopers? Yeah, we got those too.
They're the only people that
Starship
want to fight.
Don't have they're not superhumans.
This is what stopped me from enjoying 40K, all right? I like the idea of power armor still not being enough to like make you invincible. It should be like armor, like medieval armor works.
They're not
I don't
invincible.
Like the concept that it didn't work.
They're just invincible to other humans. Like
that's what I mean. Like they're and to Eldar and to the vast majority of
Eldar kill Space Marines sometimes. Like it happens.
Of them, you're right. Eldar are the best at probably killing Space Marines. They have weapons that just go right through their armor.
Orcs. Like I remember reading that Hell's Reach book. Like the fucking orcs murdered like all those Black Templars. It took them a while, but they got the job done. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Orcs are probably my favorite 40K race. Yeah. If there's any race I'm interested in at all anymore, it's just the orcs.
I like the normal humans. Like the only thing I like reading is Caiaphas Cain. That's the only thing I really like.
And I also like Caiaphas Cain, but I'm not
normal humans.
I'm not interested in anyone else but him though. Like the other humans, Jurgen, he counts, but he's part of the group.
Gaunt, the Gaunt's ghost.
I know about him. I'm pretty sure he's the guy with the claw. No, that's a different guy.
He just
it's
like, dude, okay, so take Caiaphas Cain, instead of a chain sword, he has like a power sword in the shape of like a military saber, and then he uses a fucking bolt pistol, and instead of being a kind of funny coward deep down, he's just straight up like
a badass.
I love the Imperium.
Yeah.
Fucking like, yeah. Anyway, Dune.
So since we got a little off subject, but okay, so talking about scenes from Dune, we were just talking about a character whose name got brought up that I didn't really know about because the 80s movie and the miniseries do a pretty shit job of making this character seem important. And maybe it's just because cinematography back then wasn't as good.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you right after you're done. I'll tell you why the 80s movie failed to make Dune. The number one reason it really failed. But go ahead. Remind me to touch on it.
I considered rewatching that just to have it fresh in my mind of what I liked and didn't like. Because I did like it, but there were
some things. But yeah.
But Duncan Idaho
yeah,
didn't get a big enough part, I think, in the older movies. Or if he did, he just was usurped by Gurney in most of those ways. Like Gurney as Patrick Stewart is the one I remember being the mentor. Yeah. But when I watched this movie, this new incarnation, it seemed split between them, and it seemed like Duncan Idaho was the mentor for the longest time, and he was the person that Paul trusted and was friends with. But Gurney was a hard ass Atreides
Gurney was
who
the
wanted
mentor.
him to survive.
Gurney was the mentor. Duncan was like the older brother.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, older brother is the word I was trying to think of. Yes, he was like his brother. That's what it seemed like. Yeah. But Gurney brought this hard edge to it that I liked. That came back later in a number of ways.
Well, that's because little thing the movie didn't tell you. Gurney Halleck. So on Giedi Prime, the Harkonnen homeworld, they have a gladiator arena. They do gladiatorial games. They force slaves to fight to the death. They force their criminals and prisoners that they take prisoner to fight to the death. That's where Fade Routha, who we didn't see in this movie at all, and there's still no news who's playing Fade Routha. The guy Paul duels to the death at the end of the
show. Yes.
We have no idea.
I forgot his name.
Sting played him in the old movie. Yeah.
I remember that guy. He was supposed to be like the golden child of the Emperor or something. He wasn't his kid, but he was like his champion.
He's the Harkonnens at the end. Yeah, he fights in the Emperor's name. He's like the heir to. He's the Baron's real heir. The Batista is not, but Fade Routha fights in their gladiator arena for fun. So yeah, and Gurney Halleck, the reason he is so fucking hard edged, and he has such a hatred and like almost like a little bit of fear for the Harkonnens. He was once a slave on Giedi Prime and forced to fight in their gladiator arena.
Shit.
Yeah. So yeah.
He calls them animals, so
yeah, he does not.
It seems like
they are. They're terrible people. Like
they seem like it.
I have not finished. I need to finish the Butlerian Jihad books because the main military officer commander that I'm reading about right now, fighting against the machines, is a Harkonnen. So somewhere in this book series, we're gonna see. I'm gonna read about how they fell into be this like. I know at some point we're also going to see the event that, or I'm going to read about the event that started the blood feud between the Atreides and the Harkonnen. Apparently, at some point in the Butlerian Jihad, the Harkonnens kind of betrayed the Atreides and left them hanging, and there's just been like a blood feud ever since. Yeah, so.
Well, that sounds par for the course for the Harkonnens. I mean, from what one second, I'm turning my AC on. From the little I understand about them, they are. Assholes, and they weren't quite as bad as the Sardaukar, it seemed, because the Sardaukar had literal upside down bodies with their throats slit, draining into blood pools. So it's kind of hard to top being the, who the maybe this is the idea like that it comes
Thunder
from.
Warriors, like
know who the Sardaukar remind me of though? Whoa. They remind me of the Aztec Jaguar warriors. They didn't have like the same rituals or anything, but the Aztecs had a way of bloodletting people. There were a lot of blood rituals, cutting the head, slitting of the throat for the blood. And there was some sort of like power in blood. And Jaguar warriors were basically like warriors from birth. Like this is what you do. You go out with this thing and kill anyone you see that we don't like. That's like who the Sardaukar are. And I was like, oof, that's terrifying. That's probably why it terrified me so much. They seem like a real thing.
It was also the first time, like for sci-fi and fantasy, typically used to go to like authors would go to like a medieval or ancient Europe kind of vibe. Rarely we would see like a medieval or ancient Asia. Never before had they gone Middle Eastern with their themes. Mm-mm. But for Frank Herbert was like, no, this is about a desert planet. I'm gonna go with these fucking there's a lot of pseudo-Islam or not. There's a lot of pseudo-Arabic or just straight up Arabic in this in Dune.
Yeah, I like that about Dune actually.
Kwisatz Haderach. The thing that when he first got to the planet, the people outside the gates were all, yo. When this happened, I knew this movie was accurate as fuck and they'd done it right. When he landed on the planet and those people were outside the gate chanting, Lisan al-Gaib, Lisan. I was like, yes, you did it. Denny Villeneuve, you did it. You fucking slow
because
down, dude.
Wasn't it supposed to be, this is what I understood it to be. This is from a layman, so you can tell me if I'm right. Okay. This was the reason that the Bene Gesserit mother said to Paul's mom, we've laid the path for you. They had been providing the myth of the Kwisatz, such a hard one to say, Kwisatz Haderach to the people of Arrakis, the Fremen, the concept of this guy who will get rid of the Empire's control over their planet or something, who's their perfect leader in a way.
Yes,
that was what I thought.
Yes and no. They have been, and the Arrakis is not the only planet they've done this on. In case a Bene Gesserit woman ever found themselves stranded on a planet and needed the help of the natives, the Bene Gesserit have been known to implant pseudo-religions and prophecies with those religions that a Bene Gesserit woman stranded and in need of help could take advantage of and use them to integrate.
So they're Sith Lords. They have little cults put all over the universe so that they can go wherever they want.
It's not because remember, the Bene Gesserit had no intention of Paul ever being the Kwisatz Haderach and going to Arrakis. He was going to go to Arrakis, but they had no intention of Paul being the Kwisatz Haderach. So no, you're right that they implanted it there, but it was not. They were not told about their whole plan to make a superhuman. They were not told about that.
So is it basically that the Fremen were inferring from the prophecy that this boy, because they would say things under their breath like he will know your ways as if he was born to them and things like that.
Yeah.
So they were looking actively at Paul to be this thing, and as he was hitting the check boxes, it became more apparent that he was this thing. But when he got there, they were shouting that directly at him.
So
which I thought was super cool. I didn't know it was from the book.
The religions, pseudo-religions, and prophecies that they implant into primitive native societies, they don't exactly just mesh perfectly. The primitive native society is going to go ahead and add their own aspects to it as well.
Right.
One of them being that like for the Fremen, for example, it's a very it's a very patriarchal society. Like the women are not like shit on, but like it's the leaders of the Sieches are men. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this idea, they being able to prophesize that the original prophecy was the Bene Gesserit woman is this messianic figure. The Fremen didn't really go along with that. They were like, what if that doesn't sound right to me? Because, I'm from this patriarchal society, so it should be male. So what if it was her son? I don't know. Yeah, and then it happened. So, yeah.
So it was more of a happy accident than it was an actual planned occurrence. Or you could say that the Bene Gesserit, though they believe they are plucking at the strings of fate, the strings of fate have been plucked right back at them, and that any sort of plan that they had has sort of ironically spiraled into being, but against their wishes and control. I think that's a great little understated plot, that the Bene Gesserit essentially have their own victory and defeat in the same instance, where it's like, fuck. It's like, fuck, we were right. We're happy, but we're mad.
Well, so their final stage of their play, they were very close. They were very close to being done, and they knew it, which is why they got kind of not scared. I was gonna say scared of Paul, but they're not exactly scared of Paul because they don't really believe he could possibly be the one. But no, the Reverend Mother, the head of the Bene Gesserit, she's worried. But
yeah, she was worried after the test, after the Gom Jabbar. She was worried during it because of the way he looked at her, where he was just like,
yeah,
that was a badass scene.
Yeah. The final phase of their genetic breeding program is to pair a Harkonnen with an Atreides. They're like, that's the final step to make the Kwisatz Haderach. They're the only two bloodlines since the Butlerian Jihad, due to their blood feud. They're the only two bloodlines that have not intermingled. So we got to.
Does he marry a Harkonnen woman?
No, Paul is half Harkonnen. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Paul's mom.
Right.
Paul's mom is the Baron's daughter.
Oh shit!
She doesn't know.
Okay, I like that kind of twist, because if she knew and was hiding it,
sorry, I spoiled it for you, but
no, I've seen the old movie. I'm sure it was in that too.
So that Baron is. So Paul's dad was murdered by his grandfather. Yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
his grandfather is a piece of shit though. So even if he knew, he probably still would have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He probably still would have.
Well,
Oh, you're my
so
grandson? Well, I
that
killed your dad.
that scene in the tent where it showed him freaking out because he saw his brain did the math and saw that the most likely future that's going to go down is, yes, spoiler alert, people. You saw it. They showed it in the movie. They spoiled it in the movie. They
Yeah,
didn't
it's been
exactly
already
know what was
spoiled.
happening, but so he sees this vision. It's the most likely one. It's the most likely one. He saw others. In the book, it describes a couple other ones that we saw, but they didn't feel relevant enough to put in the movie, I guess. So he's like, I'm gonna get my revenge. I'm gonna take back this planet. I'm gonna be crowned emperor. But due to the religious shit that has been implanted in these native people, and the fact that I also did turn out to be the Kwisatz fucking Haderach, it's not going to stop there. And these Fremen are going to take my fucking family banner and burn the galaxy. So he's like, shit, fuck. Like, he's like, he knows. It's like, remember when we did that video on The Last Church 40K? And we talked about how,
Yeah,
like, the Emperor's not wrong. Like, he knows. He's like, this is the most likely way this is going to go down. And it terrifies him. Because,
yeah.
like, does he want revenge? Yes. Does he want to take down the Harkonnens? Yes. Does he want a holy war waged in his name because this somewhat primitive people native to this planet believe he is God? No, he doesn't want that. Is he also kind of God? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, so he's between a
yeah,
rock and a hard place, dude. Like,
yeah. He was
so
definitely freaking out about the galaxy burning, flags waving in my name or chanting in my name or something.
the
He was freaking out about that.
but talking about how the Baron is his grandpa, this is the moment in the tent. I guess they wanted to save the big reveal for part 2, but the moment in the tent is when he realizes, like, his brain does the calculations again. He's like, huh. So he's like, oh, if the Bene Gesserit were doing a breeding program, the most likely people that they hadn't bred yet would be Harkonnens and Atreides due to the blood feud, which would mean that would probably be like the last stage of their plan. So if I'm the Kwisatz Haderach, then that means that one of my
It
parents
would also
was.
explain why his mom never married his dad
Oh,
because it would
they had
have been a
no
public
idea.
spectacle.
They had no
Yeah, it
idea.
would. I
No one,
wonder. I wonder
only
though
the Bene
because
Gesserit knows that
that's
she
what
is
I'm saying. Like
Harkonnen. Yeah.
the Bene Gesserit would have known. So maybe they subtly, quietly made it so that there's no reason for you to get married because we don't want some things to come out that will definitely come out if you officially marry this person.
They
Like
wouldn't have come
there's
out.
a
No one
in
knew.
the modern era though, you have to sign a couple of documents, and then that's some information that gets filed that they have that that corroborates to other existing information. Let's just say that in the normalcy of life, that this world is still a little bureaucratic. Let's just say that a little bit, because it would be that they go in and they're like, we want to buy, we're going to buy a fleet of ships and we need to finance it. And they're like, oh, cool. Well, your wife is Harkonnen, so we give this discount. And they're like, my wife is what? She's like, oh yeah, it says right here, she's a Harkonnen. Oh wow, she's the daughter of the Baron, and that would just cause some problems.
So
You
the
know?
only two people that the only Paul and Jessica know, but Paul knows now in the movie wise. Paul knows. He tells her immediately. He tells her. But he didn't did he in the movie? I don't think he told her. He didn't. He
I don't
didn't
think
think.
so.
He didn't figure it out in the movie. He does. He
No, I
does in
don't
the
think
book.
so.
In the book, in the night in the tent, he figures it out. The only people that know she is the Baron's daughter is the Bene Gesserit, like the higher echelons of the Bene Gesserit organization. She was born, the Baron had her. The Baron is this fucking dictatorial tyrant who likes to fuck boys, so he had no interest
Oh,
in
I didn't know
raising.
that.
Oh yeah, so he had no. He
Jesus.
wants to fuck his nephew Fade real bad. Just tell you that. Fade's not into it, but like,
I don't think it would be.
yeah,
It's his uncle.
yeah.
But this is Dune. What the fuck do I know?
Yeah, so he had Baron had no interest in raising a daughter. So he gave her to the Bene Gesserit. And that was the last he saw of her. So he knows he has a daughter in the Bene Gesserit. He has no fucking idea who. And it's Jessica. So Paul figures that shit out. Another future that he sees going down is He amasses this. He develops his skills. He becomes the Kwisatz Haderach. He has all this power, and now that he has all this power, he has he has a bargaining chip. He has leverage, and so he saw another vision, less possible, less likely, but he saw another vision of himself on Gidi Prime, kneeling before the Baron and greeting him as grandfather, basically saying like choosing the Harkonnen side and allying with the Baron and being like, "Yo, I'm your grandson, make me your heir." Because not only am I your grandson, I'm also like the superhuman.
God.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But that was and to be honest, he saw a couple others, but they were like very, very, very unlikely to happen. Those were the two biggest one, and obviously he saw the fucking killing the Harkonnen pieces of shit and the Holy War happening. He saw that as the very most likely option because he hates this dude. Even though he's realized it's his grandpa and he could maybe go back to him, he's like, I don't want to do that. This dude murdered my dad and fucked my life up. Fuck this dude. Fuck my grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude's an asshole, even if he is my grandpa.
But
I mean, my grandpa is an asshole in real life, so I don't think I would. It's not that hard to be like, fuck that guy, he's a dick.
But at the same time, though, man, he's like, yo, it's either I grow up, get over it, and side with Grandpa, who is horrible, or there's gonna be a real bloody war throughout the universe. Like, and dude, there is. I'm telling you, spoiler alert, it goes down. It fucking happens. It's bad. It's really bad.
I think like he probably realizes that no matter what blood would be spilled in this initial war, any consistent Harkonnen rule would result in vastly more blood over a long period of time.
I don't know, man. It's real bad. I'm telling you,
this is why I've heard that he's not a good guy per se.
Paul?
Because if he was truly like perfect, he would go for the best options, but he doesn't necessarily.
Well, no, he did. It's not so much a. He's not a bad guy, and this is a story, and one of its themes, somewhat more subtle themes, is it doesn't matter how powerful you become, you can't control everything. Like he has the most powerful human brain that has ever existed, and he knows, and even he is still limited to one of these two paths. Get my revenge, rule the galaxy. But there's also going to be a really bloody holy war, or suck it up and go kneel before Grandpa. And even though he is the closest thing to a god the universe has ever seen, he's still limited. He's still a limited. Yeah, there's no way out of it, and there really isn't.
Because I do like that kind of stuff because it keeps us grounded when we read about that. Even if you become the most powerful thing in the universe, you're still contending with the infinity of the universe, which can do anything to you. You can't possibly win that fight.
No,
it's you, but everything else.
Right.
So it's also you. No matter how much power you have, it's all from the universe, and the universe is still faster than you.
He makes the choice pretty quickly, but you just think about it, you're like, God, that would be like. If you give a shit at all about like mass society and the human race as a whole, that's a tough choice to make, man. Because it's like, allying with my grandpa and just sucking it up, that's gonna hurt me. I don't want to do that. But if I do what I really want to do and take my revenge, I'm gonna hurt everyone literally everyone else. Like that's like, dude, you know how America? Let's just say right now in America, it's really like polarized and divided, and there's all this. Everyone's just fucking yelling and pissed off and upset all the time, and it seems like we've kind of lost our way. Well, let's say like this dude,
exhausting.
Let's say like this dude showed up, all right, and he was like good old American, like fucking Jeff Daniels in the opening speech from the Newsroom American. Like this dude fucking got it, and he brought our morals back, and he led us to rebuild our nation, and we were strong again, and we were awesome, and everyone was happy. Like, yeah, we got America's shit back together. Fuck yeah. But then all of America, other than that guy, was like, you know what we should do now? We should take our American way of life, since it's so awesome again, and spread it throughout the world. And if they don't want to accept it, let's cut their fucking heads off. Like, that's basically what goes down in Dune. Like,
Jesus. Okay, wait, time out for 1 sec. I have to go get a drink.
All right, I'll pause it. No worries.
Get some water.
All right, real quick. First things first. We gotta test this out. because if this happens, I gotta stop doing it. You gotta tell me if you can hear me chewing, like into my mic.
Okay. Yeah.
Fuck.
For sure. I mean, it wouldn't bug me, but it'll definitely be on the video.
Yeah. All right. No more chips for me.
Dude, we can take a break. Let's take a 5. Let's take a 5.
Okay. Fuck it. All right, so turns out during our 5-minute break, we kind of realized we'd said most everything we want to say about Dune. Like, other than just to give, like, I don't know. For me, my overall opinion of the movie is it perfect? Absolutely not. But is it, like, I'd say me grading it, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Like, it's that high. So it's not perfect, obviously. There's, like, we talked about some things. Like, I thought the shields could have been executed better to let people know exactly how they're working, and some scenes were like the tent scene, some stuff, other options that they could have shown were left out, but they were constrained for time. They've already divided this movie into 2 movies just to include it all, and even then, like, they still got to cut some shit. So yeah,
it's gonna be a long movie no matter what.
Yeah, especially since, like I told you, the first part covered like a month. The second part covers like 10 years. So yeah,
I'm curious. Yeah. It's probably,
there's going to be some time skips. I just don't think it's going to be one big one. But yeah. All the acting performances I thought were great. Ones that I thought really shined were the guy as the Baron and the guy, as you know. Sorry, I don't know his name.
Yeah. I do know his name. I have to look it up, but I think it's
something Skarsgård.
Skarsgård,
yeah. Not, is it Stellan?
Still, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, it's still on Skarsgård.
That's Alexander Skarsgård's dad.
And if you guys don't know who that is, if you watch the movie it's the guy who played Pennywise, his dad.
Yeah. And then, so that dude was good. Javier Bardem, the little bit we saw of him as Stilgar, really thought that popped.
I liked him a lot.
Timothy Chalamet was fine as Paul. Didn't have a problem with him, but I don't know. There are a couple other people I could have seen in the role as well. You know, it would like.
Yeah.
What I mean by like when I say Javier Bardem, like I look at Stilgar now, like no one else should ever, like that's Stilgar. You know, like a Hugh Jackman Wolverine type deal. You know what I mean? Like
that's how I feel about Duncan Idaho. If I ever read the book, well, if I'm buying the book, or no, I'm getting it from the library actually, because I'm thinking 10 moves ahead. But I'm going to get it from the library, and that's who Duncan Idaho is for sure. I don't know that necessarily Gurney is going to stay. I can't think of his name. The guy from the Goonies.
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he's around.
It might be Patrick Stewart in my brain.
Oh, okay.
Because I just thought, I actually really liked Patrick Stewart as Gurney. He was just as stern, and he was just as fucked up. It's just that he did it with that sort of royal composure you would expect of a palace guard, and like not even just that, like the head guard.
Yeah.
You expect a certain level of zen, but also like demons. And the fight with Paul and the shields in the old movie was actually pretty good. They did a good job
for the time.
Yeah. Now they did a really great job with Josh Brolin, and he really made me believe that he would kill Paul. Like, he won't, but he did a great job as Gurney. I just don't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I could see other people as well.
Oscar Isaac as the Duke, as Leto. No complaints, but with Duncan Idaho, Jason Momoa, he did a very good job. It's just at this point, like, I know him from Game of Thrones, Aquaman, so much other stuff that I see Jason Momoa. That's what I see.
I see Jason. Yeah. I do agree with that. I keep thinking in my head Jason Momoa instead of Duncan Idaho. And I think if this movie kind of would have benefited from using a little more lesser known actors. A lot of movies lately have been just picking from the big group of the main guys and just mishmashing them. What was
the mom's name? I really liked her. I feel like
I actually don't know. She
Rebecca something.
I'm gonna look it up, but I really liked her as well. She did such a great job of portraying fear when her son was going into the ganja bar.
But also, like She was a bad bitch.
Rebecca Ferguson. Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
When
the
that
scene
one
in the helicopter or the ornithopter.
Yeah.
Where she was like, "Kill yourself.
Kill him.
Kill him."
Yeah. And then when that one Fremen dude challenged her, she just dropped the backpack. Was like, "Let's fucking go, dude."
Yeah.
Like
she was like, "Let's throw hands. I'm ready." She just messed him up. No, I loved her, dude. She was one of those characters that I felt like this is what I'm talking about every time I get mad at movies where they're like, "Okay, you know, I bitched about this with Endgame, the all female scene." That I was like, all those characters are awesome on their own, but grouping them together is pandering bullshit, and it doesn't accomplish what it does. They recently just said we're worried that was pandering.
Whoa.
So I was like, yes, it is pandering. You're correct.
Yeah.
And what we saw in this movie is the opposite of that. Yeah. It was a situation where we had no idea what was going to happen, and she just whooped their asses. And she had the literal leader, who in Fremen society is not just elected, had him by the throat. She was like, "Yeah, I'll kill him for sure. I'm only not killing him because Paul is up there covering me, and I kind of want to hear what you have to say. And also, if I kill him, we're dead. So I'll wait." Like, yeah, she knew it was up, but she also was like, "I'll kill him though, for sure." You could see it. I liked her a lot.
Yeah. Special effects obviously were great. The worms. So the one worm that you get a really good look at seemed small. I don't know if it was meant to be that way or what, but like the one that you first see or you get a glimpse of, you see its mouth when it swallows the fucking spice rig.
Yeah.
That was a fucking worm. Yeah, that one was, yeah. So.
But don't we know that there are stages? Because,
yeah.
Spoiler alert, spice is their molted skin and dead bodies. So, like, essentially there would be smaller and larger versions. Because they would have to have babies.
Yeah,
no, I mean, like, I don't entirely understand spice.
It's like a worm. It's for those of you who know how worms reproduce, like it's the same way in this.
Oh yeah, I don't even know now that you say it.
So have you ever seen a worm? Have you ever seen a worm? Like you know, if you know that patch of it's like it's got the rings, and if you remember that long, just like cylindrical patch, they shed that. That grows in that has the reproductive shit in it.
Oh, so that's cool. I should know this because I dissected a worm in 7th grade, but that was a long time ago, so I don't remember.
Right.
That's cool though. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
That's a crazy way for giant space worms to reproduce. I hope that's how it is.
Body cuff sleeve, and then I don't quite remember if because this is where I learned that was 7th grade. So
right.
I don't remember if they said like that thing grows into a new worm or if it's just got the material in it to make a couple. I don't remember, but I know that has something to do with it. But the spice production also has to do with like the larva form and whatnot. It's so.
Oh wait, is it so? Wait, do they go in like a chrysalis that is essentially spice, and then when they break out of it, dissolves?
The book Dune does not explain that very well, but that information is out there. Last I had it explained through the power of the internet is it is the leavings of the larva forms, and when that mixes with water that is buried deep in the planets, like underneath all the sand, there's water in there. When that mixes with water, it creates a chemical reaction that like explodes up and outward up through the top to the top of the surface of the sand. And then once that stuff that just like mixed together, like like when you make a volcano, the fucking vinegar and baking soda, so that goes, and when that stuff all hits the sand and gets dried out by the sun, then it's spice. So it's
extremely gross
worm
and
larva,
also fascinating.
Worm larva's shit mixed with water dried out in the sun.
Man, that's like that's way more than I thought. I thought it was their bodies, but that's much cooler. It's their shit. I absolutely love that their empire is run by worm shit. That's the greatest thing. Like, can you imagine getting yourself into that position of being like, oh, that's what it is? We're way too deep into it now. We can't just like go back. I can't. I'm fucked.
No.
But at the same note, it gives you cool looking eyes.
So
But you
hey,
have to live in the desert to get those eyes. So
only the Fremen know that's where it comes from. The rest of the Imperium are like, it's just in the sand. We don't know.
they don't want to know.
They
They don't
don't. They
want to.
don't. They don't know because no one ever sees worm larva form. That's another thing
Right.
too. The Imperium has no idea where these worms come from. Like,
They've never done any research. That's
it's
fascinating.
really hard to do because it's so fucking dangerous. And like, they made it very clear. Shields, one, I don't really even know how much they would protect you, and two, they attract the damn things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like there's like, think the only people that have had up close and personal interactions with these creatures are the Fremen. So it makes sense they're the only ones who really understand this process and know how it works. So yeah. But anyway,
It's pretty crazy.
I don't know. I said 9.5 out of 10. What do you feel for this
I
movie?
would give it the same rating. It explained more than any Dune movie I've ever seen. I'm going into it pretty fresh, but I had a rudimentary understanding of what was going to happen. I thought they portrayed the houses as a lot more distinct than I've ever seen them before. Like, you could definitely tell Atreides' personality by how they acted.
Yeah.
You could tell who the Harkonnens were. I still think I like horror movies do nothing to me because honestly, it's all bullshit. Watching the Sardaukar lined up in silence with their like death priests and the upside down corpses, I was like, that's terror. That's actual fear. Like, these people are insane. This is their society.
This is a demon summoning ritual they're performing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. When does the bloodthirster show up? Like, I'm waiting for the reason behind all of this just nonsense. But fuck, they were terrifying when they showed up. They were terrifying through the whole movie. In my opinion, they were the scariest part of the whole movie. The worms, I mean, the worms are as scary as it would be to be swallowed by a giant worm, which is not that scary because you would be dead so fast. It wouldn't even really matter. The amount of sand that they would swallow at the same time as you would get sand compression. You would get coated in sand, and then the weight of their stomach pressing down on you would squish you like a moth between a napkin. Like, you would just be.
You assume, though, that thing was huge. You assume, though, that like there's not like room in there for you to like walk around and live for a while.
Hopefully, it's not a Sarlacc situation where you get digested for thousands of years. But
Boba Fett showed us how easy those are to escape from.
Yeah, if you have Beskar armor and a jetpack, you're pretty much set. But if you don't, you're like everyone else. You're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
Or you're a Jedi. I'm sure a Jedi can figure it out.
Mind trick. You want?
I don't know though.
Me.
Jedi aren't that good at anything. Like, I would love for that to be the end of like a Sith Lord's arc, is to fall into a Sarlacc pit. But the worms themselves, I thought, were cool, but also a part of Dune that I get less interested in as I learn about it.
Everything
else. Like, okay, yeah, the worms are cool, but there's all sorts of like political intrigue and how the Empire works and what spice is for as opposed to what it is.
The worms end up amounting to A, like, it's where the spice comes from, and then B, it's like, I don't know. As far as a desert planet based sci-fi story, I always got like a little bit of like, this is him trying to do the best he can to incorporate some kind of like dragon riding knights aspect to
it does seem like they were attempting to add a little bit of fantasy, inject a little bit of fantasy without going overboard. I still think the concept of the worms being ridden is something I could do without entirely. I think that the relationship that's built up between the Fremen and the rest of Arrakis in general in this movie, I'm just saying, like, not in the book or anything, but in this movie, it was such a good portrayal of a society living within the dangers of its own borders, which humans have done, I mean, for centuries, millennia. That's exactly how we got here. It was by living right next to a jaguar and down the street from a bear. But just like fucking saying, like, I'm not moving, I live here. I'm gonna eat those bananas and I'll stab you if you come near me. Like, that's how we figured it out. But the Fremen have this enormous, like, that's it, that's true. Like, anybody has a dispute to that,
we were smart enough to where we had the right combination of physical capability and intelligence to be able to conquer all those other creatures. This is a creature, though, where you're like, yo, like, no, how do we can't conquer that thing.
Just stay away from it.
Yeah.
They even built up kind of that the Fremen would do that. Or ride it, I guess. My one thing with the riding it, I think this every time I see it, or even when it crosses my mind, those are underground burrowing worms. What if while you're riding it, it just decides it's going underground? So are you, pal.
They can control it.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It doesn't. The movie didn't show you enough to tell you, and but the book goes into a lot of detail about how they can
So they can actually direct it.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that was my problem. I was like, that's like riding a great white shark or a sperm whale. Like, yeah, you can put 2 hooks in it and hold on tight, but that bitch is going down, and so are you. Like,
yeah.
What are you gonna do until you get crushed flat like a tin can?
They can't ride it. They can't tame them permanently, obviously, but
right.
Yeah. So
they can temporarily ride them into a location and then hope they don't die along with everybody else who's about to die.
Yeah, that's their fastest way. If they ever need to go visit another Fremen siege that's really far away on the planet, the fastest way they do it is by they plant a thumper in the ground, call a worm, and fucking hop on. And then they're like, take me
the
to
fucking
our
balls on these people.
Yeah,
can you even imagine? Let's just think for 1 second about the first guy to suggest that.
I've read his part. It's in the first Butlerian Jihad book. The first dude to ride. I've read his part. He wrote the first guy to ride.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So was the reaction what I think it was? Everyone was like, "Oh, this guy, he's looking to die, so he's gonna go try to ride a worm. We're gonna watch him die."
He was exiled. He was exiled from the siege for stealing water, even though he didn't steal water. But yeah.
Because he was giving out dangerous ideas.
No, I don't know. I don't remember. I have to. Fuck. I should read. I should finish those. But yeah, he hopped on. For a while at first, he thought like you did. He was like, yo, this is working out so far, but I got to be ready to hop off if this thing decides to go under. But then he realized oh, based on where I've put these, I can kind of yeah, so it's
this way or that way.
I would have in order to I'd have to get the book out and explain it to you and read it to you. But when you read it, you're kind of you kind of get it, but just know they can steer them.
So. Okay. I'll look it up. I'll look up how they do it. I'm going to look up spice too. But overall, I thought for a person who didn't read the books and only had a very basic knowledge of Dune, I thought it was really good. Yeah. There were some things that I didn't love, and they're mostly design choices. Like if you're using energy shields that need to be slowly penetrated, you would use stabbing weapons more than you would use slashing weapons.
Yeah.
Without question. It just doesn't make sense to use edged weapons that often. You would probably have metal poles with a spike on them
in the book
that you would stick people with.
The 2 most common are daggers, obviously, and then when in the scene where Gurney, they went with a very
like a
tactical,
Tanto, like a Wakizashi kind of.
Wakizashi, yeah. In the book, it's Gurney shows up for that scene where he duels Paul, and he brings weapons with him and he lays it out. They duel with rapier and
rapiers would be super popular,
and a kinjal. I don't know if you know what a kinjal is.
I'm gonna look that up.
Kindjal.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. It's a very thin pointed dagger, but it's curved slightly.
Yeah, not always. Some of them are straight, but
oh, I see a straight one. Yeah, I actually owned one of these when I was a kid. No joke. I thought it. My dad got it at a thrift store, what are they called? Antique shop.
Yeah.
It was a piece of shit. But anyway.
Kinjal rapier, kind of it's do you remember the really old version of Romeo and Juliet we had to watch in school?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the duel between when Romeo and Tybalt duel? They each had a rapier, a long rapier, and then they also had a little dagger.
No.
Okay.
No.
If you that's how I kind of think of the fighting style. Is if you Google or YouTube search Romeo and Juliet, Romeo versus Tybalt scene, that's pretty much, it's they have a full on rapier in one hand, and then the other hand is a dagger of some sorts. Yeah. So yeah.
That would make the most sense. The weapon choice just didn't make sense to me. That's where my minus points really come from, is that if you're going to do this, if you're going to tell me that this is a sci-fi universe that is based in reality, and the function of these shields is to stop quick actions, slashing weapons are out the window right away, because they wouldn't work ever. There would be very, very few situations where you would be able to slash your opponent. But stabbing them from range slowly as long as the weapon was sufficiently long, you could get very good slow stabs on moving targets. Anybody running towards you, if you slowly extend the blade, would kill them. So it just didn't make sense to me that they had wakizashis, as that would be the absolute worst possible weapon choice. And I think also there would have been more big weapons, big slow swinging things that are designed to hack through multiple people in a slow arc.
So with the rapier and the dagger, both are stabbing tools. The rapier is the most thrust-oriented sword, and then all daggers are pretty stabby. So the fighting style was your longer one, the rapier. You could stab with it if the opportunity presents itself, but that's your distance creator and your parrier.
Mm-hmm.
That's your that's your tool to get yourself into the position. This dagger over here, that's your insert.
Yeah, stab it into their heart. Yeah. Stab it into their back, into their neck.
So yeah. But I agree. Like as much as I love like wakizashis and like katanas and stuff like that, yeah, it looked cool, you know.
It did look cool. I will give them that. It did look cool,
and they made sense.
It just every time they brought up a scene about fighting, where they right after they showed you how the shields work, it was. I can tell you for sure, it was pulling me out of the moment every time I saw it. I was like, oh, how did that hit connect? Yeah. Like when Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho is going down the hallway, and he walks up to the two guys, and he's just like,
yeah.
And then only the last one does he slowly kill, and I was like, so two fast slashes just worked.
Yeah, it was supposed to. I think what they were trying to go for with that was, okay, the fight is going to be super choreographed and fast paced, and we're going to have the shield flash red and blue very quickly, and hopefully everything happens in such a stylized and fast fashion that people don't really pick up on, like, oh, was that a fast strike that went in? Like, but surprise, motherfuckers! I was able to pick up on it. Yeah, it kept bugging me. Like, yeah,
I just gotta say, it genuinely was bothering me. Now I really liked everything else though.
Good news though is, if you remember Paul's the Fremen only use those Chris knives.
Yeah.
And if you remember the scene of Paul's vision in his golden armor, just two daggers, baby, no two shields. Chris knives. You know those are the fucking teeth of the worms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's
terrifying.
That's metal as fuck. Like,
and they were my favorite part about that scene. So first of all, just to clarify before the video ends, they were wearing white armor, which was Emperor is just not hiding it. That was totally Sardaukar.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is all the Fremen were dressed exactly like Paul. So Paul was just like blending into the crowd. He was just wearing the exact same armor as them. It was the same color and everything. And then the third thing about that part is that the Fremen were coming out of the sand. I didn't catch that the first time. Every single one of them was coming out of the sand. Like,
they do that all
hundreds of them. I was like, whoa, holy fucking shit, the Sardaukar are screwed. They just kept coming. It was like when they were more than enough to kill all the Sardaukar, 20 more came out of the sand. And I was like, okay, that's super cool.
They're never done.
That was just so cool. Yeah. Little tidbits about that. But yeah, there were no shields because they were fighting on the sand.
Yeah.
So they would attract the worms. Yep. And the Sardaukar learned recently, at least in the movie, that the Fremen will totally sacrifice themselves to kill you all with the worms. They will do it, no questions asked.
Yep.
Just so that they can be one with, I know his name. Something. The worm's name in their language.
Shai-Hulud.
Shai-Hulud, yeah. I only worship one master, and that's Shai-Hulud. Yeah. That was a badass death scene. I wouldn't personally choose that route. I would probably just, as it was coming up the sand, slit my own throat so I didn't have to worry about the rest. But
yeah, maybe. It would also, dude, here's the thing, man. It takes a sack to drive a knife across your throat. It doesn't take a sack to just stand there and let something happen.
No.
You know what I mean? So I don't know, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I don't. I like to think that I would do it, but honestly, who the fuck knows? I'd probably just get eaten by a giant worm, and that would suck. So.
Yeah, that would suck.
Maybe I could convince one of the Sardaukar to kill me by like making fun of his mom or something. Just while we're going down, he just gives me one.
This is the situation where, like, like, we used to joke about this shit on the ship. I would like, fucking, if we ever, like, the ship went down, we were stranded at sea, I was like, I don't give a fuck how far down under the water the ship is already. I'm going for a fucking pistol. Like, I'm taking one of those. Like, we will be floating in that raft, and I will be armed. One, in case I need to fucking call it, and then two, in case any of you fuckers start getting wily on me. Like, like,
I'm gonna keep it stripped into different parts.
Like,
so nobody can steal it all at once.
Uh, I mean, I'll
Yeah,
fucking just sleep
that's
with it in my hand. Like, fuck, like, dude, like, yo, I was straight up, dude. It's like, yo, yeah, I'm not upset that any of you survive, but this is Andy's raft.
I
Just
kind
want
of
you to know,
am.
like, this is Andy's raft. You're all just guests, just so you know. Like, yeah. Oh man.
I might need to drink your blood later to survive, so don't get any blood infections. All right.
Yeah. All right, man. Any last things to add? I think it's pretty clear we loved this movie, and
It's a great movie.
go
I'm gonna
see it.
watch it
Like,
again.
if you feel safe going to the theater to go see it, you know, take your precautions. Wear 2 masks. Fucking coat yourself in hand sanitizer like Danny DeVito. I don't give a shit. Like, you know, like
Just get the fucking vaccine and wear a mask, and you'll
yeah,
be
and
fine. And if you get COVID, you'll be all right
go to the
as long as
theater.
you're vaccinated.
This movie deserves your money. You know what I did? I actually so since it was on HBO Max, we all thought it would be just more fun and comfortable to do it at a buddy's house, so we did it. We watched it there. But before going over to his house, I bought 2 theater tickets on my phone for me and Veronica, and I just didn't go because I was like,
Oh
because
well, yeah.
this is before
I
part
bought
two
tickets to
had
see
been
it.
confirmed, and I was like, I already know I want part two.
God damn it,
And
Andy! That's a good idea. I've never thought about that. Okay, I'm gonna do that next time I see a movie I want to see a part two of, because I like watching movies at home, but I would gladly contribute
yeah,
to the box office sales if I still could. Like,
and you know what? It's like I also just like you and me, Bert, where we grew up in the same hometown, same time frame. Like going to the movie theater used to be a fun experience. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to
yeah,
see it die. Like it was already going
no,
downhill enough, and then the pandemic has not helped it. So we saw James Bond that day, the same day,
I
too,
still haven't
in the
seen that.
theater.
It's good. Okay, all right. I'm really excited because I know it's gonna be good, and it's his last one too, so it's gonna end so good. Okay, anyway, I'm real. That's a movie I'm 100% seeing in theaters, no
Okay,
question.
I can tell you
Because
don't want any spoilers for it.
don't tell me anything, but we will talk
Okay,
about it. We will
okay,
talk about it.
all right,
I'll go see it.
yeah.
In fact, I'll go see it this weekend.
All right. Yeah, it's good. My only thing is my only thing about it was like I thought the villain uh you know you've seen Spectre, right?
Yeah,
So Spectre was the movie where we get the villain Blofeld
right.
who is like the big bad behind James Bond and all of his torment. Like that was Blofeld.
Yeah.
It's not this new villain. This new villain's a new villain. So,
Okay.
yeah. That
So
was
it's
my
not Christoph Waltz again.
he's in it, but
Okay,
yeah.
good. That's all I want. That's yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
but
cool with
yeah,
that. He should
that
be in it.
that
He's
yeah
like
for
James
sure.
Bond's brother.
But that yeah, he's his stepbrother. Yeah, that was my only gripe with it was I was kind of like for Daniel Craig's final film, it was just kind of like another Bond villain. That was my only gripe
It
with it.
should have. That's now that you're saying that, I do think that it should have been Blofeld. I thought that it was going to be. He deserved his second shot, and I think it should have taken them both down. But I'm gonna be happy with whatever it is because it's gonna be Daniel Craig's last run.
Remy Malek's villain is like creepy and good. It's just
He's a good
because
villain. He really is.
yeah,
He's played a villain in something else too.
I don't remember.
I forget what it was, but he was good.
Yeah.
Creepy is a good word to describe him as a villain.
Yeah.
He's very creepy.
Yeah. All right, man. Go see Dune. It was fantastic.
Really, really great.
And thank
then
you
watch it
all
again
for
on
300
HBO.
subscribers. If you watched us through this whole video, we applaud you. I hope
Yeah.
I hope one day, look, like 100% if this channel gets up to the point where like we're actually making money off of it somehow, I will 100% take that money I make and put it right back into the channel in the form of like contests and giveaways and stuff like that. The thing is though is
Yeah.
like, and I hope no one out here judges me for this, like I'm not gonna do any of that stuff until the money to do it is coming from the channel. So, I don't know if that might motivate people to subscribe and whatnot, but it's just like, if I wish I could, for the 300 people who are already subscribed, I wish I could do more, but I'm just financially not in a position to where I can take my own money and use it to like boost my YouTube channel. It's if my YouTube channel
Same here.
yeah, so. But anyway,
See, the thing
thank you to
is,
300 subscribers.
if you guys want to participate in any way, though, leave some comments. Talk about Dune. We would really love to hear. Because, I mean, honestly, It's nice to hear what people think about movies. Be like, maybe there are things I didn't realize that
and stay
hardcore Dune
tuned
fans
for
can point
drunk
out.
lore coming soon.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Are we still doing?
That's what I want you all to do. I don't care if it's just one person that comments. Comment what lore you want us to cover drunkenly.
Yeah.
What are some options that we're pretty well versed in? We could do 40k.
Yep.
Uh,
We could probably do Lord of the Rings. I got some deep Lord of the Rings
we can
shit.
do Lord of the Rings. What else can we do?
Dune.
I can do. You feel
Could you
comfortable
do
doing
Dune?
Dune? I can do Dune. Can you feel it? Do
I
you?
could. You could do Dune to me so that I listen to it because I am a novice and know
Okay.
nothing.
Well, I kind of
So
did it.
any information you give will be new.
I kind of did it. Oh well. I can
That's
do.
true. A little, only a little.
I can do DC. I can really do. You want to hear me go off on some shit? I'll go off on DC.
DC, we should definitely do sometime. That would be hilarious.
I could probably do Marvel pretty decently. You could do Star Wars like a motherfucker.
Bro, Star Wars. If we ever want someone to go on a fucking tangent, you should have you do DC and then me do Star Wars. That would just. There's so much shit in Star Wars.
What else is out there?
I'm trying to think of anything niche that I know. Niche that I know.
I could do Masters of the Universe. There's not a lot of lore.
If anybody wants me to explain the entire Pendragon book series, I will hook you up.
Oh, let's do some basic ones, dude.
I'll
do Harry Potter. I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah,
so you can do some basic
book series. You guys, we read. We're not illiterate idiots. We read a lot. Just let us know.
And so, just so you guys are clear, this is
Twilight.
like
I would rather not.
I don't know what you're planning with this, but like I was not thinking of it as like, okay, we're gonna start from the beginning of the lore and tell the whole story. I was thinking it was just gonna be me and you drinking, and just going off the dome about lore and.
Yeah, no, there's no line. There's no timeline here. Fuck timeline. This is about whatever hits your drunk brain about that lore that you must share. Because there's always something about that lore. Like, I'll give you guys a little snippet. If it was 40k, there's this. There were jokes about how like orcs can do anything because if they believe it's real, then it is. And so there was this other YouTuber who told this joke, and I thought it was really funny. And it was that there were a bunch of guards, and they all ran out of ammo behind some rocks, and they're shooting at the Greensons are shooting at them. And one of the commissars just picks up a gun and starts making the gun sound, pew 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 pew, and he sees orcs dropping like dead because they believe they're being shot at. So that's one part of it. And then so they all start doing that. See, this is So anyway, this is from before we go forward. This is from Ricky, who's a very hilarious YouTuber. But he talks about how like the guards suddenly start hearing something over the bend, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" And it's just like 2 orcs in front, 1 orc on the back with a cannon that he's holding, and then 2 orcs behind holding his feet, going, "I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank," and they're just like deflecting the bullets that are being shot. So it's like, yeah, that's basically what it would be. It's just like any anecdote that we can think of while we're talking.
I'll tell you what.
Proper credit.
I'll challenge myself with the stuff that I feel really well versed in. I will challenge myself to try and start at the beginning, and we'll see how far I can get before I.
That would honestly be funny enough on its own. Is attempting to stick to a timeline.
See how much we could get through. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll give ourselves an hour. How about we'll limit ourselves to an hour. We'll see how much we can get through. Oh my God.
Okay, this is perfect.
40K, all we need is like we're barely gonna hit the age of strife with 40k. Like, are you serious? Oh,
if we did from the straight up beginning of 40k, I could talk about like the AIs that used to rule. Look, okay, before we go, I have to tell a story I just heard recently.
Go for it.
Apparently, in 40k, the Magos of the Adeptus Mechanicus got roasted by an AI. He apparently, like, they just unleashed him, and he was a former servant of humanity who, when he saw what they had become, was just like, it's hilarious watching you pray to a machine. He's like, it's a machine. It doesn't care if you pray. He's like, you're all stupid. I'm better than you. I used to worship you like gods, you know. He's like, now look at you. I'm your god. You guys can all fuck off. And then he takes their ship from them, and then he uses it to destroy the fleet around him, and then he just warps off into a different galaxy. Oh, so he just straight up took over their entire platform, roasted the shit out of them, and then left.
That's dope. Oh my God.
I love that kind of stuff, man.
That's good shit. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh, hey, so your computer's better for streaming than my laptop is.
Sure.
Next time that there's something like the DC fandom thing, we'll have to schedule. We'd have to like know about it well in advance, schedule it, because I guarantee you Veronica is not going to like this idea. But how would you feel if there's something like that going on, like a virtual convention? How would you feel about like having this going, and then like as the stuff gets, we stream ourselves live like for the whole day. We'll take bathroom breaks and shit, but we stream ourselves live for the whole day, for the whole event, and
Sure.
we're streaming. I'll record it here, you stream it on your end, and we're just kind of like going over and talking about the reveals as they come out. I don't know what the
That
next
sounds
big
cool.
virtual convention is going to be. I
I'll
just
look into it.
I wanted to run it by you though, because we will be committing to like a whole day sitting at the
That would be
computer.
less than we think. I mean, we would be all right. And it'd
Yeah.
be kind
Oh,
of
I
cool.
know I'll be
Be
all
a lot
right.
of
It's
stuff
just
coming up.
like
Yeah,
I
I
know
like
me. It's
that
like
kind of stuff.
I got
So
people in my life that if I spend all day at the computer, they start getting grumpy at me. I don't know what you're dealing
yeah,
with over there. So like,
no,
yeah.
I would be fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, my dog would probably get really fucking
We'll
mad
have
at
some
that
breaks. We'll have some
eventually.
breaks.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be cool with that.
All
I don't
right.
know what's coming up, but I'll look into it.
As you can
I'll
see,
let you know.
I'm back up in the room, but it's like
Yeah, I saw that.
fucked. Like there's no shelves of toys anymore. They're all kind of like
I
spaced
see
out.
them
They're
all
on the
kind of
floor.
stacked.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. I just got this like remember that black table we played D&D on?
Yeah.
I've just got that. My laptop's on it. I got a bunch of just stuff on it right here, like this fucking
Oh, I see.
yeah,
You just kind of got stuff
fucking
wherever you
sick,
can. It is a six font.
dude. I'm so glad I got these
On that is so nuts.
from the Kickstarter campaign because
Yeah.
they're going for like 260 a pop now. But yeah. All right, man.
Well, that's
It's
an
been
instance of
real.
a good figure, though. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. It's been real. It's been
All right,
fun.
bro.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Later.
Later, dude.